Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the greatest day in American history outside of freeing the slaves. Yeah, it's still Black History Month, so I'm going to mention that. All right. It is Super Bowl prediction time with the greatest podcast known to man, and that was quoted by Joe Rogan. What's good, America? Ladies and gentlemen, I am that five-time heavyweight champion. I am the pseudo-sexual. I am the mahogany god himself, C. Turner, and it is my privilege to welcome you to the greatest Sunday outside the Passover. And well, that might be the only thing. This is like second two. It's Super Bowl Sunday with What's Good America, and the greatest co-host, dare I say, one of the greatest fathers that I know. And listen, I can say that because I'm a top three dad, and I'm not number two or number three. I just want to put that out there. I want to introduce to some and to reinvent the man himself, Mr. Chicago, the South Side, the West Side, the West Coast, Mr. 401k, the greatest wide receiver known to man. Don't at me at your mama. I got an attitude problem, and I will fight you. James, Big Gabe, Madison, Walton, the third. What's going on, big dog?
Hey, what's good, America? Hey, listen, like real talk. This is how great of a dad I am right now. I have my daughter in a dockatop right over there on the couch, napping while I'm doing this show. And my wife is in the back taking a nap, doing what she do. And I just realized that I was on mute. So I'm going to have to repeat that into Spotify. So hold on a second, America. And now that I have unmuted myself, all I have to say about this dad thing, I'm either killing it because the kid's sleeping on the couch, or I'm the worst father of all time that I'm actually on a podcast. But this is where we are, and you have to write shirts for what's going on, because this is what we live for, Chris Turner. We live for this day. We live to all the foolishness that has been talked about. I did go in the archives and look at some things for a few minutes. I'm going to just go ahead and say it, Chris. Let me just go ahead and just start this show on humility. I predicted Derek Carr would be a top 3 MVP candidate this year. Let's just start there.
That didn't work out. So
that's dead wrong. I thought that the Raiders would have a chance to compete to be in the Super Bowl. I was dead wrong. Maybe I should have said 2023 season when they get Aaron Rodgers. Maybe that's what I should have did. So we start the show with just pure humility on my behalf that, missed that one just by not that much. But here we are. We've got the team in green. We got the team in red and yellow. I mean, listen, let's just start where we need to start with this. And the season, to me, had everything you needed to have. It's one of the better NFL seasons I've ever seen. I enjoyed every week. You didn't know what was really going to happen for the majority of it. Obviously, a lot of up and downs for you there in the state of Florida. I still, to this day, feel for you that Jacksonville and Miami played on the same day, and Jacksonville did move on, but yet you got your wish because they lost. It's such a weird dynamic with you over there. I don't understand that at all.
It's the off season for me anyway. It's the greatest game for others. I'm just here for the Super Bowl. I don't have the emotional state to talk about the Dolphins right now.
Yeah, and that's not what I meant to do. I didn't mean to go there. I mean, it's already baseball season for me in my house. We've already moved beyond the NBA. North Carolina's giving me a heart attack every game, so I don't even know what's going on in the tournament. So we'll get to the NCAA in time. But
dude, isn't there a love triangle going on between your two star guards and then the star guard from the girls basketball team, and they don't want to talk to each other because of her?
Well, if that is some news, that is, I think we're gonna have to cover that story because clearly I didn't know that. I'm gonna have to go to my
like your two starting guards, the two who were on Sports Illustrated, along with the head coach. Like, it was the starting five, but like your number 2 and number 3 guard are beefing because of the point guard from the girls basketball team.
Well, if that is the case, I'm going to have to definitely do some insider research. I do have an insider. I'm going to have to reach out to him. I mean, let's call it what it is. I know this show is special. I mean, we got one of the dopest listeners already there. I already got to acknowledge my guy. I mean, that's that. Listen, that's as regal as it gets right there when you have Dr. Walton on the show.
Dr. James
So,
Walton.
so we got to, so we got to be in our P's and Q's and get this thing right because he's going to spread the gospel.
Oh, it'll be clean. It'll be
You
clean.
know, you know.
And
I'm
Pops,
not
anytime
saying,
you want to chime in, please do.
yeah. So let's get right to it, man. What do you make of these two teams, CT? Like, I mean, what is your kind of your thoughts on how we've gotten to this? With Philadelphia,
All right.
Kansas City.
I'm gonna give it to you just how I've seen it over the last, and it came to me about a couple of days ago. Kansas City is the closest thing to the Golden State Warriors that I can recollect in football, because with Kansas City and with Golden State, it's a bunch of guys that you like, you know what? Yeah, dude, let's go play seven. Like, these are the guys you'll go play 7-on-7 with in the park on a Friday when there's nothing else to go. Like, these are the guys you get up with on Thanksgiving and go have a turkey bowl with, because all right, it's just fun. Let's go have a good time. Hey, we're gonna score a bunch of points, and it is what it is. On the other side of that coin, you got the Eagles. The Eagles are a team that you take into the playoffs with a high school football playoff game against your rival. You know it's about to be a fight. All right, listen. You know what's about to happen. They're going to start playing dirty. Listen, I'm glad I got the Eagles in my corner, because I know for a fact if a punch gets thrown, we clearing the bench. If they say something wrong, it's going to be a fight, and I'm here for it. If something, to bring this to your region, the Eagles are the Detroit Pistons, the old Detroit Pistons at that, where whatever pops off, hey, we here for it. You need an extra rebound, we here for it. Oh, you need Rick Mahorn to come in and take care of something? We here for it. So you got glitz and glamour, essentially, versus down and dirty. Like, it's the it's a 7-on-7 team versus an inside run team. It's the 7-on-7 quarterback camp with Trent Dilfer, which, by the way, how did Trent Dilfer become like the lead specialist on how to be a quarterback? Anyway, it's a whole nother topic. Versus,
well, the same way Dan Orlovsky is like the top quarterback analyst on ESPN. So I mean,
yeah,
I do actually enjoy him, to be honest, man. I'm not even gonna front.
I enjoy Dan Orlovsky, but the fact that Trent Dilfer is the heir apparent quarterback that tells high school quarterbacks whether they're gonna make it or not, that really grinds my gears. I'm just gonna put that out there. But you got the 7-on-7 camp versus essentially like the inside run camp, where you come in knowing that, all right, you about to get hit in the mouth, and nothing about this is going to help your rankings, but it's going to make you a tougher player. So as far as a prediction goes, I'm not there yet, but that's what it is. Like, it's Golden State of recent year versus those 80s Pistons teams with a young Rodman and Mahorn and Zeke and like all those guys. That's what this reminds me of.
I like that analysis. I like that spin on it. I look at this matchup and I think a little bit different way than you do. Because you kind of see the Eagles a little bit more, to me, like the underdog team, in a sense, like, like not so much the underdog team, but, kind of the, hey, we're the bully ball that really nobody wants to see here, like team. And you know what? I have a different view on that. I actually think this team that I'm pointing at here on the screen, America, we're going to try to make sure we replay this video as well. Get it over to Chris as soon as he can so he can get it out. I see Kansas City, to me, actually being more of that underdogish team. I want to start with them because, I mean, obviously, there's nothing that didn't have us, really saying that they were going to be in the West. Obviously, this dumb guy said that they were going to lose the West to the Raiders. Got to continue to eat that, so I will. But you know, Kansas City was going to be in the mix because they've got one of the special players in the history of the NFL. I mean, say what you want. It's funny because I have friends that you know and have met, Chris, and the dynamics of the Patrick Mahomes love and the Patrick Mahomes hate. Like it's on. There's no middle ground. Like I don't have anybody that's in the middle ground when I'm in conversations. It's always, you know, I'm hearing him thrust into conversations with Michael Jordan, which is absolutely absurd to hear that. And then, you know, I also hear things to where it's like, well, it's the system and it's because of these things. And, you know, they want them to win, so they do that. And I look at this year, in all honesty, and what they've done, CT. Like, look, like if you look at their roster, how many players stand out on that roster from their start 22? Off the top of your head that you can name.
Jalen, AJ
No,
Brown.
No. Chiefs.
Oh, the Chiefs. Okay.
I haven't gotten to Philadelphia yet.
All right. So as far as the Chiefs, Chris Jones, because that's I mean, I gotta go, of course.
Yeah. You could go
Kelsey, of course.
Yep.
P. Mahomes.
Yep.
Juju, because I know the name. Not because of his play, but because I know his name.
Yep.
Scantling, I want to
say.
That's about and Scantling was pushing it for me. So like I know a bunch of other names, but like as far as like the ones that just like the gotcha names, like that's about it. Like I love their running back. I mean, I love a bunch of guys on their D line, but as far as like names that pop, like that's really it.
And see, and that's the essence, because you being an AFC guy, you know, in itself, because of your team being in that conference, for you to only really on this show be able to really in your mind go like, who really pops to me on that team?
Yeah.
You know, you're not, and it's not a knock at you. You're not me. Like I'm still the statistical analytical guy,
right?
That will look all that stuff up because I, you know, don't have a life at times, even though I do have a life, right? Like I'm that guy, right? So that's the point of this team. I mean, there's a lot of everyday man in this Kansas City Chiefs team. They just happen to have three guys that are the best at their position.
Exactly.
Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in football. And whether you hate him or not, you cannot deny what he has done the past 5 years he's been a starter, because he's been in 3 Super Bowls. So if he like retired today, the dude is really a top 40. He's a top 40 player all time. Like, and quarterback, he might already be in the top 10 with 3 Super Bowl appearances and a win already and 2 MVPs. So that's the Kansas City Chiefs to me. They are a team, in my opinion, that overachieved, like they did. You know, they're. I think everybody saw them winning the West, and then Buffalo or maybe a Baltimore Ravens with a Lamar Jackson who didn't get dinged up, or Cincinnati like Joe Burrow figures it out, and all the writing was on the wall for that. But here they are in the Super Bowl, and they deserve that respect. And really, a lot of it has to do with the play of Chris Jones all season, because he was first team All-Pro. And his timely sacks and, you know, getting off that schneid in this playoff, getting his first playoff sacks. And you got to give a lot of that to 15 and 87, because the fact that Travis Kelce continues to be that wide open.
That doesn't make sense to me. Like, that does not make sense to me.
It's the most amazing thing to me, because it's no disrespect to MVS, Mecole Hardman, Juju Smith-Schuster. These guys are solid wide receivers.
Very much so.
But none of them say, you know what, we should put a safety over top of these guys. Nat one up. So when you got that going, and this guy, I think, was tied with Devontae in reception touchdowns. I think he caught 100 some odd balls. I mean, his receiver stats are right there with him and Diggsy. And, you know, obviously nobody was catching Justin Jefferson and Tyreek Hill in yardage this year.
No. They were ridiculous. I'm very proud to say they were both ridiculous.
So they get all the credit in the world. for getting to where they are. They earned it, in my opinion. And I love the opportunity for Patrick Mahomes to really make a statement about who he is in this league. Now you flip it to Philadelphia. And this is where the humility goes out the window. I did go look back at the video we did on the NFC East. And I said certain words. I said, this season will go as Jalen Hurts said. Like I literally could, I didn't have enough time to write down my words just so I could like wrote down what I said. But we talked about it. And now we're going to do this the other way. Name all those players off of the Philadelphia Eagles, Chris, that just, when you think of the Eagles, like the players that come to mind. You were starting
So Smitty, of course. Landon Dickerson, you can kind of see where this is going. Jalen Hurts.
I mean, you should just start there.
Just to get the Alabama guys out the way.
Yeah. I like how you did the first two Alabama guys, and then you did the Oklahoma guy after that. So we're not
going.
I think we might have to do that for a couple of minutes. I mean, to be fair, but no, keep going though.
So those three, AJ Brown, if I'm Tennessee, like I'm legitimately thinking about putting everybody in the management office in a psych ward.
Well, they fired the GM. So
I don't blame them. Like you let them go for pennies on a dollar.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, who's that left tackle who I love so much? I can see his name and I can't pop it out my head.
I don't even know the left tackle's name, but I think might be thinking about the right tackle. You think about
it might be
Johnson?
the right tackle. Yep. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's a bunch of guys with them. Like I'm not gonna say a lot. Like last night was a very long night. And
that was just the offense you did.
And that's just the offense.
Go to the defense. Who are the names that pop?
Names on the defense. Besides that big bastard from Georgia who doesn't play, who I hate to death. Let's see. They got Nakobe Dean, which let me die on this hill myself. Nakobe Dean will go down being a top 5 linebacker, and that is only behind the other Georgia linebacker that's in Baltimore right now that got released from got traded from the other team in Chicago. Those two will go down as two of the greatest linebackers in modern day football.
You're gonna do that. My dad's on the show listening. You're gonna bring that up. You're gonna bring that up.
If I have to die on this hill, I'm bringing somebody with me. Like, let's just get that understood. It's gonna be a crabs in a bucket mentality right now. All right, let's get that understood. But no, Nakobe Dean, like when he's top 10 in my book. I can't give him top 5 because there's a bunch of guys who can go, but he's definitely a top 10 linebacker. Honestly, I'm still waking up, so that's all I got for right now.
All right,
but there's a ton. Please
let me help you. In addition to the guys you didn't name on offense, you got the guy in the middle, Big Brother Kelsey. Now defensively, Hassan Reddick, Ndamukong Suh, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, Josh.
And that Sue pickup was a sneaky good pickup for the playoffs.
It was a monster. You know how many teams needed that dude, and he just took his time.
No, I'm good.
It ain't about money for him.
No,
that dude is. He's the original Aaron Donald contract. I think people forget that about Ndamukong Suh.
He changed the game for the D lineman.
Haynesworth wrecked it for the defensive lineman, and then Sue made it right for the defensive lineman with that contract and winning Super Bowl on top of that. So that's 5 guys coming at you, And then obviously you go to that secondary, Darius Slay,
play Slay.
James Bradbury, Avonte Maddox, Gardner Johnson has played himself into a big-time safety deal. Listen, I said this August 16th when me, you, and Bays were on the show. And I said, this team is ridiculous. Like, it was like when I think, and I have to go back and look because I think when we did the draft show, Chris, was when we really, because that's when they made the A.J. Brown trade. We said, what is happening in Philadelphia? The right way, like good for them saying, you know what, we made the playoffs with nobody, and now we're going to get everybody. And they've done what they is. That's why this shirt is here. Normally it was worn out, you know what I'm saying, in my young 20s when I felt like, you know, I had to have Nike shirts that had stuff like this, you know, so I didn't have to say these things because it ended up being true. But this is who they are, Chris. This shirt is who the Philadelphia Eagles are. And if you ask me, I don't know if I've seen too many teams built the way that they've been built, where they literally, when you look at, when you put it on paper, position group for position group, they've got a killer.
They got a top guy everywhere.
Every level.
Everywhere.
I think the last teams that were legitimately like that, and I mean, this is really, honestly, might be those Cowboy Niners teams of the 90s
All right.
and 80s.
So hold up. Let's argue for a second. Because
That's how dope this team is.
Let's argue for a second. Because here's where I see the difference. I think this was done more recently than this. I think this was done a couple years ago because the Rams just did this in a different kind of way.
You're right.
Because the Rams did this. The Rams did this in the aspect of, okay, let's win right now. And then next year, hey, whatever happens, like I know we're going to lose all of these guys. The Eagles, on the other hand, like they signed all these guys, like either these guys are on rookie deals still, or these guys got a little money in a couple years with this Eagles team.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing how I forgot that team literally won the Super Bowl last year?
Because they literally went from sugar, sorry, they went from sugar to shit like real quick.
He know we be cursing. Like, look, so, and I think maybe that's why I don't think of them this way, because those Cowboys teams and those Niners teams in the 80s were organically built through drafts. And a trade here or there. They drafted Joe Montana. They drafted Jerry Rice. They drafted Roger Craig. They drafted Ronnie Lott. Charles Haley when he was there.
Yeah, that 49ers team was something. It was something rare.
Matt
like
Millen,
it was a
Romanowski. All those guys were draft picks.
Homegrown. Yep.
You know, Eric Davis, Merton Hanks. They drafted those guys. You know, the Cowboys. They drafted. They traded for Charles Haley. That's what really turned it for them. But Aikman and Smith and Irvin, Novacek, Daryl Johnston, Leon Lett, Ken Norton was on both teams.
Yep.
They drafted those guys. But I think what really stands out about Philadelphia to me, and why, if they do, and we'll obviously get to our predictions here in a little bit of time and how we see this game's going to go. But what makes Philadelphia really stand out to me is like legitimately, like like Miles Sanders, if he touched the ball 250 times, would be top 5 rusher in the league. That's how talented he is.
Especially in that system. I agree.
If Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown didn't have each other, they would be in the top 5 receiving category. Jalen Hurts was the runner-up in the MVP, I believe. I had to take my parents that were in town. I took them to an Air Supply concert in town, so I missed the end of that. I came back. Dak Prescott was winning Man of the Year. Congratulations to Dak for that. And then you look at defensively, James Bradbury, excuse me, was let go from the Giants because they had to pay him, not because he couldn't cover.
Exactly.
Darius Slay has already been an All-Pro in Detroit.
Of all places.
Gardner Johnson played in the in the Saints game where that pass interference call happened. I mean, Avonte Maddox has played in Green Bay and done things and was a starter there before he got to they're loaded everywhere, man. I've never seen too many things like that. So I'm just impressed that they were able to live up to their own hype. They never lost steam. I mean, can you really count? Well, we lost the games where Jalen Hurts got hurt. Do you really count those games at the end of the year? Because as soon as they came back, they steamrolled everybody.
Like it went right back on track. Like it was like back to business.
You throw
and don't get it twisted. Don't hold on before you go into it. Don't get it twisted.
Giants game, they beat the brakes off the Giants in that playoff game. It wasn't even close.
Hold on, go back. When Jalen was gone and Gardner Minshew, which for those of you who don't know, Gardner Minshew is a god in Jacksonville, Florida. For those of you who don't know, like they'll take him back, not to be a starter, but they'll take him back as just a resident any day of the week, just as a resident. He doesn't have to play, and like Gardner Minshew will go down as a top 5 quarterback in Jacksonville, Florida, just off of being a resident. But when Gardner was in the game and the way they pushed the Cowboys, and the Cowboys were all like, "Oh well, we did this to you without like." Don't get me wrong. Gardner can run. He's very mobile. He's a serviceable backup, but he's not Jalen. So like the fact that Cowboy fans really got up and got off on that game, like it's ridiculous because they played a completely different game and still damn near won. So go ahead. I just wanted to make sure like that point got.
No, man, you hit it on the head, so don't even trip about that. But that's just to me I think that's what we're seeing here. Like the dominance of the Philadelphia Eagles, they were the team where most people said, if number one plays the way that we believe he can play, and he takes that step, they're there. So listen, as much as it is a team game, you and I know that from our championship experiences. It wasn't one of us. It was all 25 of us on that roster. The reason why we won those titles when we played together. The truth is, if Jalen Hurts doesn't play the way that he played this year, they're not even in this situation.
No.
And I think the credit really does. We do it too much. Tom Brady gets a lot of the credit, just by design. You didn't really see a whole lot of that with Matty Staffs. They really kind of gave the whole team credit, which was nice. Like this by design is if he played the way he played last year, they don't even win the East.
Well, here's the thing. Like this team,
he played out of his mind, man. Like
this team was built.
He played up to his ability. I don't want to say played out of his mind. I think this is who he. This is who he is.
This is who he is.
I don't think this is a fluke, and I think he's gonna get better, which is scary,
terrifying. And here's two things. So one, this is the guy Alabama wanted to see, but they didn't develop enough. And honestly, he went to Oklahoma and became what he is right now, because he was the Alabama offensive staff at that time was too focused on, all right, listen, I want you to run the ball 30 times a game, throw the slant, and they didn't develop him as a passer to look for that deep ball. And then secondly, this team was constructed to eliminate the excuse to realize, okay, do we want this kid long-term or not? Because that's what this team is built on. All right, I'm going to get you a decent O-line. I'm going to get you your college receiver, and then I'm going to trade and go get you a guy who is being undervalued, even though he's putting up stupid numbers in the AFC South. I'm going to go get you that. You have a tight end. You got a top 10 defense. I'm going to get you all of this. Now, if you screw this up, I don't need the media jumping on my back saying, hey, we didn't give a black quarterback a chance and everything else. No, this is, if you screw this up, this is your own damn fault. And just realize I'm moving on in the draft. Like that's what this team is. This team just alleviates and eliminates the excuse. If they wanted to cut Jalen, which of course he's going to get a multi-year deal now, but if they wanted to cut him, this was the season where, like, all right, show your work. Like, just like when you had to turn in a math assignment in high school and you just came with the answers. Nah, here, show your work. And that's what this season was, and he more than proved it.
Hey, Jalen Hurts is a win away from taking all Dak Prescott's commercials. He's gonna be Sleep Number. He gonna have the Dannon joint.
The soup commercial, like him and his mom and pops on the soup commercial, like it's.
Hey, sorry. Yeah, the Campbells. He's a win away, Dak Prescott boy.
Hey.
He better start doing a toy drive and keeping some of that money with that Man of the Year award. Listen, hey, remember the scene in remember the scene in Any Given Sunday with Jamie Foxx,
Oh,
Dennis Quaid, when they did the commercial.
that was supposed to
And
be your
Jamie
line.
Foxx, yeah. That's who Dak Prescott is.
It's
He's
it's
Dennis
it's all
Quaid.
about it's all about the
Hey,
kids. I mean,
yeah. No,
it's for the
those are the real
kids.
lines. Like, is it really? Jalen Hurts one game away from inflating his chest like metrics out here, bro. Like, that's where we at.
Inflate yourself.
Inflate your chest. Drink metrics.
Oh God.
Oh man.
Hey,
So I listen, man. Like I said, we alluded to this offline just because we hadn't had a chance to talk because that pregnancy just kind of sprung up on you, boy. I'm not gonna
it'll
lie.
do it to you.
I woke up and the water was broken. I was like, well, this changes all my plans.
It'll
But
do it to you.
the right way. But we did talk offline about this, America. And when we saw the matchups we had, and I think Chris will agree with me on this, like no matter what, like we knew we were going to get a good game today, which is what we have. Whether the Bengals would have pulled this out or the Niners would have pulled it out, which would have been history crazy. Niners Bengals, that would have been part 3.
That's perfect.
Which would have been a great storyline. Like the Bengals have been here before and they've gotten their asses kicked by the Niners both times. Like so we've had all the storylines. Like if it would have been, we'd have got the rematch from 2019. Had it been the Niners and the Chiefs. Eagles Bengals would have been something nobody's ever seen, but it would have been like, here it is. The real Heisman winner versus the guy that couldn't. Like they had all sorts of storylines.
There was all due like it would have been so many LSU, Alabama tie-ins, and they would have referenced that damn game 1,000 times, which it would have hurt my feelings. But I understand. Like it's just there were so many storylines that this game could have went to. I want to hit this before we move on to something else, and everything's all relative within the same scope. But what's happening for Jalen Hurts, and I'm going to speak for you, and you can disagree if you want, but I don't think you are. What's happening and the faith and the honestly, I think faith might be the only word. The faith that the GM, head coach, and organization have put into him to, hey, show me what you got. Like if you really want to be a quarterback, if you don't want to be just considered a mobile quarterback, if you want to be a quarterback, here's everything a quarterback has. I'm safe to say this, and I feel like you're going to back me up. What's happened to him is what everybody in the damn country wants to happen for Lamar Jackson. Everybody. Because matter of fact, I'm going to take it back further than college.
Okay.
Boynton Beach High School in South Florida. Lamar Jackson. I'm not going to lie. He had one kid who's in the NFL now, and I cannot think of who it is. But I had a little cousin playing at that time. They played against him, whatever. He had one receiver and a tight end. The tight end ended up going to Georgia and then transferring a bunch. But in high school, when you gave this man weapons, he put up stupid numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And ran into a buzzsaw in the South Florida area. I mean, it happens in South Florida football. It happens in Florida football. Like eventually you're going to run up against a team that has a bunch of cats who are going to end up in the NFL. That just happens.
Yeah.
Move on to college. And in his couple years there at Louisville, there's not a guy from that Louisville team that is receiver-wise, weapon-wise, that is starting for an NFL team right now. There are a couple who are in the league, but none of them are starting for the league. Like they're depth chart guys.
Not at all. Not at all, man. And I think really through it all, that's the beauty of the Philadelphia Eagles, and what they really have done. And I mean, just to be real about it, CT, like it's amazing what we're going to see in this offseason because, I mean, what's going to happen, bro? Like, what's going to happen with all these quarterbacks? Like, I think this whole thing, what they did with Jalen Hurts, what Patrick Mahomes has shown is that we at a point now, man, where like legit, It's on, dude. Like you gotta you have got to put your guys, and we've seen it the last few Super Bowls. Like the last Super Bowl winners, if you look at them and look at what it is, and I don't know how much more I can stress this and how the game is played, but it's the truth of the matter. Kansas City is defying the logic of this. But the last three winners, if you look, the Rams came into the game being able to beat you because they had two guys that commanded double teams.
Yep.
And then everybody else ate underneath that, right?
Right.
And then the year before the Rams, it was Tom Brady. And Tom Brady had 4 all-pro players.
Across the board. Across the board.
And then the year before that, you had Tyreek Hill, the all-pro, and you had Travis Kelce, double team. And then who was backside catching big plays? A healthy Sammy Watkins. That's how it is built. So to me, I think it kind of leads me right into just how I see this game going. I might as well just take this and give you a little bit more time to come in and end this with a climax. And hopefully everybody can hear me better. I don't know what it is. Could you hear me, Chris? Because we had Pops and Dre said they couldn't hear me very well. So
I can hear you, yeah.
So I might just be using my phone as a microphone moving forward, I guess, which I mean fits me. Here's how I see this game going. And this is not, I think we're gonna get the offense that they want. I think there's gonna be a lot of points. You know what I'm saying? Like I really do. But I'm just gonna be 100% honest. And I have no problem saying, hey, you know what? Clearly I missed this. Come back on Monday and say I missed it. I think the Eagles are going to win this game by double digits. I fundamentally do not see. I don't care how good Patrick Mahomes is. But I'm going to tell you right now, when you got guys that can take away everything, and then you can go Maddox and Gardner in the slot on Kelce. I don't think people really I get how good the offense is. Like they can score. Jalen Hurts can do it all.
Right.
They've got two talented running backs with Gainwell being a good number 2. Like he's a really good number 2. But I don't think people really understand how good Darius Slay and James Bradbury are, like as a tandem. That shit does not happen in this league. No. You do not get the fortune of having that type of talent on the corner. Like Darius Slay is the Pro Bowler, but James Bradbury was the number 1 rated corner in the league, coverage-wise. His completion percentage was number 1. No Pro Bowl, no All-Pro, none of that for him. Like, they don't have to switch sides. They play their best sides.
You lock down your side. Whoever shows up is whoever shows up.
And then Avonte Maddox in the slot is as good as it gets. He's as good as it gets playing the slot corner. I don't think people really understand how good that secondary is. Like, they're an afterthought because of how much Patrick Mahomes is being talked about. And the fact that they're, coming into it with humility. Like, everybody's talking about Jalen Hurts and, man, maybe Dallas Goedert's going to step up doing his thing. And, Lane Johnson and the Kelce Bowl and Travis Kelce, he's always open. And Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback. And, oh, my goodness, all these things, the coaches, Nick Sirianni. Nobody's talking about the secondary, Chris. Have you heard anybody talking about how good this secondary is in Philadelphia?
Not a damn word.
And that's why they're going to win by 2 scores to me, man. Like, it's double digits to me. Like, listen, and I know this, and I can tell you this right now, because I think you remember this game. You remember the first game in 2009 when we went down to Omaha and they beat us the first time? Not the second one, not the second game that I blew because I dropped that 3rd and 10, even though I had 2 touchdowns a game. But I lost us that game. And I basically ruined everybody's bye week. So I'm sorry about that, 2009. Outlaws. I messed up the bye week. That was on me.
That was rough too. That was a rough bye week, by the way.
That was a rough bye week.
Like,
that's why
was a tyrant, boy. That was a rough time.
Fairbanks caught the wrath too. That's why they only scored 9 points in indoor football. They caught the wrath, boy. Anyway. Y'all beat the shit out them dudes. Y'all beat the shit out them dudes, bro.
Hey, I did not connect. I did not connect it until now because they were right after that bye week and we were pissed.
Oh, Coach was like, hey, remember what he said after we lost that game? That motherfucking Jedi mind tricking Coach O, boy. I love that guy, man.
Hey,
said, hey, go home if you want. I will cut you. Hey, he was taking all incentives away from certain guys. Everybody knew exactly who he was talking to because if you had incentives, you wasn't going home. Hey, boy. Y'all helped them dudes. Listen, man, like they scored some points in Fairbanks on that big ass field. Do you realize that y'all held them to 12 points in our building, bro? They scored 12 points.
Like I said, I didn't realize that. See, you just said something, but I remember because I was one of them incentive guys, and like the Omaha game, I did not play very well. Like you go home if you want to.
He was mad. He was mad at everybody but Chris Dixon. I'm telling you right now, that game, he was hot at everybody.
I have 40 guys in here on Tuesday.
Yeah, he was hot, bro. So, listen, that's literally how I feel about this secondary. Like, that's how mad these dudes are. Like, quietly, and Darius Slade, that dude can talk with the best of them. Like, he can. And they're like, dude, they really think they're going to come in here, and this is no disrespect to Juju Smith-Schuster and Valdez-Scantling, because Valdez-Scantling can run. You know, Juju has been an all-pro in this league. Mind you, he was playing next to Antonio Brown.
Which helped. You know, we're realizing that maybe AB was right about him, but go ahead.
Yeah, and Hardman's another 4-3. Like, they got all this speed, but you can have speed and still just be speed. Yeah. Like, this game is bigger than that. Yeah. You know? So so that's where I'm at with it. Like, I think it's gonna be competitive. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I ain't talking like it's gonna be 42-14. No. But like, I really kind of foresee like a 35-24 situation, and like Mahomes just throws a couple picks because that's how good these guys are in the secondary. Like, he's gonna get his numbers, but you know, so that's my prediction. I got the Eagles by but I got the Eagles by at least 9. You know, so that's where I'm at, man.
All right, I see where you're at, and don't get me. I love your take, and your take brought light on a bunch of things that I didn't even think about. Here's where I'm going to differ because Patrick Mahomes has now gotten to that atmosphere of Tom Brady-esque where it's just like, all right, do you bet against him? And it's the hardest thing to do because even with everything that you said, it's hard to go against Brady. It's hard to go against Mahomes because he's in that atmosphere of Tom Brady because it's just, all right, this could be that game where he just goes nuts and throws for 400 and runs for like 75. Like, it's just one of those games where I've never seen Andy Reid get to the point where on the sideline where he slams a clipboard or throws the plays or whatever, because I feel like he has a play for everything. Like, oh, y'all are blitzing a bunch? Watch this speed option, shovel pass, double pass. Like, oh, you want to sit back in zone, huh? Watch this triple reverse pass to the tailback that throws it to the lineman. Like, there's always something. And I cannot in good faith go again. And like I said, you brought up a ton of good points, which I like. That secondary is scary good. And like, they're not there because they couldn't play. They're there because they're so good the other teams couldn't afford them.
Yeah.
But this is Patrick Mahomes. And I just, on the biggest stage, if he gets beat, I'll have no problem on Monday coming to say, hey, they did their thing. Like, the Eagles did their thing.
Exactly. I'm the same way, man. Like, dude, crown him. You don't
But
have to crown. You
but
don't have to
me,
crown him.
but me with the type of talent that Mahomes has, even if you bump Kelsey and then have a safety on top with a linebacker in front of him and everything else, this will be the game where that 4-3 speed now pops up from those two outside guys. This will be the game where Juju finally turns into, for one game, turns into the guy we all thought he was going to be when AB left. This could be the game where, all right, the other tight end pops off for like 70 yards, like because of who's calling these plays. And I'll take nothing. I take nothing from Jerry. I always butcher his name. Geriano Serrano.
Nick Sirianni.
Serrano. Thank you.
Sirianni.
I take nothing from him. Nothing at all. But it's Andy Reid. It's Patrick Mahomes. It's 8-year-old football of drawing plays up in the dirt. Like it's that. It's hard to defend when you got an all-time great who's having fun, which they just kicked Russell out of NBA, Russell out of LA for that, for wanting to have fun in LA because that wasn't fun, them losing. But you got a quarterback who's like enjoying the game with a top 10 head coach of all time who's just like, let's try this. Let's see if this works. Oh, I always want to run this play. Let's see if this works. Yeah, I don't know if this is going to work or not, but you guys seem to like it. Screw it. Let's try it. Like there's something to speak to that. So me, I'm going Kansas City. I'm going Kansas City by 6.
Yeah, competitive. I think it's going to be a competitive game, man. And I think the beauty of it, America, is even if you're wrong, it's like,
you know what I mean? Like,
because really, how many of us are really Eagles fans? And like, these are some seriously territorial, like ain't really too many Chiefs fans out here in California. I can tell you that. I know a couple up there in Montana. Shout out to the Shelley family. I know how much they love the Chiefs. Like they're legit Chiefs fans. Because I've watched some football with Jeff Shelley when the Chiefs were 3-13. And he was rocking a Dwayne Bowe jersey. So I give it up to the Shelley fans. They legit, and shout them out. And then, like, is it hey,
Dwayne Bowe jersey.
Hey, shout out Dwayne Bowe. That Dwayne Bowe guy, man, but
oh my God. One of the last of the big receivers.
I'm gonna be honest, man. Like, I'm actually headed to hang out with a couple of our really good friends. We're gonna head over to their house, and my buddy Pat is actually from Philadelphia, and he is a true Eagles fan, like through and through. But Pat's like one of the nice ones. But like, is it even really safe to be an Eagles fan outside of Philadelphia? Like, I feel like that's something you got to keep under wraps, man, because they be throwing snowballs at people and beating people up outside of.
Oh yeah, it's rough. It's rough. Hold on, I think Pop's got something to say, man. Pop's requested to speak a little bit. He can, by all means.
Pop. Go ahead, Pop.
Hey guys, great show as always. But I'm not picking because I'm just excited that the number one NFC team is playing the number one AFC team for a change. So
right,
I think, but for me, and you guys can comment on this. I don't disagree with much of anything that either of you said, but it's always interesting to me the adjustments that coaching makes. And I have seen games turn around in the second half where it wasn't nothing going on in the first half. So who gets the nod from a head coaching or coaching staff perspective when it comes to when changes have to be made? Do you think Reeves is the guy that knows how to change up stuff and actually understand what can work that doesn't work, or you think the Eagles HC is the dude?
Good question.
I'm gonna take this. And for those who are just gonna watch this on Zoom, Bob just wants to know, like, as far as coaching adjustments, who's going to be the one that's going to be able to adjust? And in my opinion, I think that I'll just talk myself out of it.
Yeah,
matter of fact,
Let's say I give you
All
some
right.
time because I think it's
Yeah,
great
go ahead.
question
Go ahead. Go ahead. Because I talked
about
myself out of
Pops.
it just that quick.
So I would say on paper, Pops and WJ family, on paper, it's going to be Andy Reid, and it's due to his experience. I mean, this is Andy Reid's fourth Super Bowl, quiet as kept. Everybody forgets
Yeah.
he's got an L to Belichick and Belichick's prime defensively. When those teams were, that defense was phenomenal. And they were a Terrell Owens healthy ankle away from beating them guys. Had T.O. been full strength, it might have been a different game. So I'd say on paper and what we've kind of seen happen with the Cincinnati game, they were able to find some ways. You go read. But this has also been well documented and why I do feel like this. And there's a game in particular, a couple games in particular where I want to give Nick Sirianni his credit and being a Reid disciple himself to why I think he can go toe for toe with Andy Reid. And it's not even to bring up Chicago, but the fact that that game was very losable, that game with the Bears. And Jalen Hurts did not play very well passing the football. I threw a couple picks that game. And we saw it with the Colts too, eerily similar game, you know. And I think Roquan may or may not have still been there. No, I think he might have been gone. But we know
he had just left.
You know, so they were playing for pride. The Colts have a pretty good defense. They just couldn't figure it out offensively. And we saw in a game where, okay, we're not throwing the ball very well. But what's the one thing we can do better than anybody in this league this year? Not named Chicago because we just naturally, we couldn't throw it, so we were the best running offense. They run the ball so well that I just don't know at the end of the day. And this is the other thing they do. And this is who's been getting all the praise on the defense. That front four
can go. Can go.
They got 70 sacks. They placed like 70 plus sacks. That means as a defense, they're averaging. Do the math. They're averaging 4 sacks a game. They had 70 plus sacks over 17 games played. That's basically 4 sacks a game. Those are insane numbers. And when you got 4 guys that have 10 of them. So if they don't run the football, here's the adjustment, I would think. If they're able to run the football effectively, then Kansas City is going to probably live up to Chris's prediction, I would say. What's the adjustment to where if you don't run the football, can you really depend on the Patrick Mahomes to really, and some say, yeah, you can depend on them to throw you to the Super Bowl, but listen, Cincinnati's defense is good, but Cincinnati's defense ain't got 2 all-pros on the outside and an all-pro safety and one of the best slot corners. They don't have that. That's what they're facing to me. And so leave it to our show to where you got the defensive guy talking about the offense and the offensive guy talking about the defense. Who figured that was going to happen today?
So yeah,
then you gotta account for number 7, who wreaked havoc every time he's on the field. Seems like
that kid is a monster too. Like, because I love the way the game has changed where like the defensive ends are pretty much essentially tall, strong safeties now, because that kid goes about 220, 240, somewhere in that range. And like there is no, like you have to attack this kid now. And if you miss, he's going to kill somebody. So I love this guy on the defensive end. And I guess for me to answer that question, I got to go offensively, which is rare air for me. I think Sirianni and his defensive coordinator are going to have to adjust at halftime, because I think as a defensive player, and I'm always defensive minded, and I look at the game, I guess, the same way defensive guys do. And like I'm watching like O-line, D-line play, and I'm watching what they're giving up and what they're not, and like what plays have been successful. What Andy Reid does best, better than anybody I've seen, is he will run the same play 9 different ways. And it's all right. Okay. So they stopped it when we had a tight end on the left and we went split right. Okay, let me go tight end on the right and let me go trips left and run the same play. Or let me run this little genie in a bottle thing where they'll run in a circle and then just quick snap it.
Did you
But it's
call
still
that genie? And now that song is in my head. I hate you. I hate you.
but then and then they run like this same play. So I think because I don't know what's a good defense for Sandlot football. Because that's what it turns into. It turns into Sandlot football. And what the only good defense for Sandlot football is getting up early. Like you have to be on them guys early where they can't get creative, where they don't really have time to, all right, this worked 3 or 4 times. Let's try this same play, but let's run it in reverse. So I think Sirianno's going to have to be the coach that adjusts, and his adjustments have to start not at halftime. His adjustments had to start last week because you have to get up on the Chiefs quick so that Andy Reid doesn't go, you know what? Let's try this. And then that works. Because if that works, that play that he drew up on the ground, and I know he has all these plays on his clipboard and in his mind and everything, but just so like everybody can realize what I'm saying, when that play that looks like some Sandlot crap, when that works, but then he has 4 different versions of that same play, you've seen it so many games where it's like, where did they come up with that from? It's because they did it in the first quarter and it worked for 17 yards.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Sirianni's going to have to be the one that adjusts, but his adjustments had to start right after the last game.
Well, I'm telling you right now, this is what I had to go look at this. I wanted to look at both these guys. You know, we're talking about teams with identical records. And you just want to kind of see how they lost games and what the difference was. You know what I'm saying? Like, and when you look at, you know, what I've seen more with the Eagles losing as I'm kind of looking at some of these things, was it when they lost, was it, hey, you know what? Those losses were flukish because we didn't stay consistent in what we did. You know, the Commanders lost. Was that fluky? You know, or what it is, or you look at the Chiefs and their 3 losses and how they lost to the Colts and how they lost to the Bills and almost lost to the Titans and lost to the Bengals. And you try to figure out what the difference was in those games. And I think Mead is taking a glance at it while we're talking, you know, what truly made the difference in those games. And I know in the Bills game, Von Miller was still on the field.
Yeah.
Von Miller played in that game because he didn't get hurt until after that. And I know that the Colts, when they held them down and were able to come back, they had a very balanced defense. So I think what I've seen in those 3 losses, and you got to remember 2 of those for the Eagles, Jalen Hurts didn't play. That's what's really interesting about this. The loss that they did take, did Washington just get them? Like, you know, they had won 10, 11 in a row at that point. We know how hard it is. And Dad, you can appreciate this more than I can because I was 2 in 1985. You know what I mean? You were right in the thick of that 85 team. When Miami came in there and blitzed the Bears, it was just like, man, you know, were we playing not to lose so we could be undefeated, or were we playing at our best level of football? So, it's tough, man, because I'm with you, Chris. I don't like betting against Patrick Mahomes because I do enjoy watching him play, man. Like he's everything. If he, like I said, if he said, you know what, I'm about to Jim Brown this joint, I'm out, it'd be a top 10 career, especially if he won. Like there is no denying this guy. But to me, I think Philadelphia is so balanced defensively that Sandlot stuff, Chris, you know how you stop Sandlot? Pass rush. When he can't dance and, you know, he gets that ankle rolled up one time.
True. Now, true. There's that. That's one of the big caveats there. Mind you, Jalen's dealing with an injury too. But that's the big caveat. You got 2 somewhat kind of dinged up quarterbacks.
Yeah. I mean, Jalen can hand the ball off and protect his shoulder. Like if that front 4 starts getting him and he got to start moving and he takes a hit, or, you know, Hassan Reddick bull somebody into his leg. Like, I mean, Sue with a bull.
But
They got
But
some nasty dudes.
I
away from
agree.
that,
I
man.
agree. I agree. God, I agree. And this hurts my heart to say this, but you know what stops and a super effect. And God, I wish Bays was here right now. But you know what stops a super effective pass rush?
Yeah.
It's not the run game. It's not. It's that short. Sorry, pops. It's that short shit. Like it's that 1 yard pass that they still take for 6 yards. It's that. It's not even a screen. Like it's that bullshit little pass that you can throw for 2 yards that as soon as I'm out my stance, I don't have time to get my hands up because now as soon as I come off the ball, like I'm looking like, okay, now it turns into that deep pass. Or now it turns into like that damn shovel pass that they run every game.
Right.
So like the way to stop an effective pass rush, and God, it hurts me to say this, but it's quick. Like, oh, y'all, this is what y'all want to do. Y'all want to, okay. Dink, dink.
That's exactly it. And both teams can push for a game. You gonna
Right.
short, I take short. It's my last one. I appreciate y'all letting me be on here.
Of course.
What is your take on? I don't know if this is the first head-to-head for. It probably is for Reed and a Reed protege. How do you think that'll play out?
That's a great question.
That's the damn.
And this is his first. I think this is his first of his tree
of history, yeah.
where he's going to get somebody because obviously Kyle Shanahan in 2019 is not. Well, okay. Now let's do the history. Technically, it is his tree. Listen, and I know you'll enjoy this, Pop, because you'll be able to take this one when you watch Super Bowl with everybody. We always talk about the evolution of the NFL and where it's at. And they're basically, in today's world, they're basically two coaching trees.
Yep.
Where everybody's come from. The Parcells coaching tree of the 80s, and all of his disciples have gone here and there. So you think about guys, obviously Tom Coughlin, Sean Payton are the big names off of his tree. And then you've got the Bill Walsh tree. And here's what's crazy about that. Andy Reid is a Bill Walsh guy, and Mike Shanahan coached with Andy Reid in San Francisco. So thus, in saying, it technically is the second matchup of a Reid protege because Kyle Shanahan's a part of it. But
yeah,
but in true form, like this is really one of Andy's guys. And Kyle, I think, being so much younger, wouldn't have really necessarily went that way and kind of stayed under his dad.
I say, yeah, I think Kyle gets tied more to his dad than anything else.
But I think the way that this looks, it's definitely one of those. Okay, like it's like Miyagi and Danielson, like in a sense, like as good as you get, I'm the guy, and I think that's where it is. Andy's such a calm dude. The dude is thinking about plays and what cheeseburger he's gonna eat after the game.
I love it. I love it.
Like he does his demeanor doesn't change. Like you don't see him get upset. We've never heard reports. This guy's been coaching 40 years almost. And you never hear anything about this dude getting upset. And this dude Sirianni, who in literally one game can become the darling. I mean, his offensive coordinator is already going to be the head coach of the Colts. That happened this morning. So whatever it is that Andy has sprayed into his guys that has made it successful, look at Doug Peterson. It's working. And I think that where this matchup plays, I just think Nick Sirianni, as much as Andy Reid has maybe more play calling toys, Nick Sirianni's got more real life toys that he's throwing at you. It's like, okay, you got this play. Well, I'm gonna throw Darius Slay at Travis Kelce. Okay, now maybe I'll move. If you put him, like, does the defensive secondary limit where Travis Kelce lines up on the field? Because if you can make him one-dimensional and you keep him there, and he's got to do all his freelancing in a certain spot, that's where Nakobe Dean comes in as a very, very good coverage linebacker who can do a little bit of everything. You have the ability to take that guy away. So, man, I mean, that's what we've been hyping on, Dad. I love that you got us there so Chris can bring it home with this, because that's been Chris's point, has been they have Mahomes and Reed. What do you got? And I'm going to bet on those two guys because Andy Reid quietly, I mean, maybe this should be a give me a minute. Andy Reid to me, might be a better coach than Bill Belichick ever has been. I don't know. That's weird to say because Bill Belichick's out on Super Bowls, but Andy Reid's done so much with so less. And it's been in so many conference championship games over his career. You got to add the Philadelphia stuff is no slouch.
No.
You know, he just finally got the guy. And now he's got the guy. He's been in 3 Super Bowls the last 5 years. So I'm going to give the edge to Sirianni because I need to stay consistent with my pick. Just for the fact that he just has more guys. And at some point, more guys makes a difference.
Okay. I want to bring up something to Dre, then I'm gonna go into mine. So Dre brought up a really good point because Dre's the O lineman of the group. So Dre brought up a whole point of the fact that you can't overlook Philadelphia's O line. Like I know for a fact I know the Eagles defensive backs have not been getting the love.
And you're right, yeah. And Chris, not to cut you off, but that's the thing. They're also a group that has not been overlooked because they're the number 1 rated O-line in football. It's been talked about all year. Keep going.
But yeah, you got a bunch of guys on that Philadelphia O-line that are they are the prototype of what football is now for O-linemen. Like none of these guys are just those big stomach hanging over the belt. Like they're not guys. Like these guys are slim, trim, and they are running. Like Kelsey pulls 15, 20 times a game, and this is your center. He pulls more than the guards do. So think about that for a second, where he snaps, assesses, pulls every third or fourth play. So I got to give love to Philly's O-line. Like they're a nasty bunch, and I love it. Now to stay consistent with my point, to bring up the whole Danielson, Mr. Miyagi, at no point in time did anybody who watched Cobra Kai, anybody who watched Karate Kid, even if you watched the shitty version when they had Jalen Smith and Jackie Chan.
Hey, wait a minute. That movie, that was solid, man. You cannot call Jackie Chan a shitty Miyagi. That is the only version that Jalen Smith beats is the one where it had Mr. Miyagi and what's the girl's name? Hilary Swank?
When they had Hilary Swank. That's the only version that Jalen Smith is better than. That's it. That movie was trash. Anyway. But at no point did anybody look at those movies and like, you know what? I think Danielson will beat Mr. Miyagi ass. No, you don't, because you realize that when Danielson came in there and caught flies with the chopstick and all that, and it was cute, at any time, Mr. Miyagi could have knocked that crane kick out of his soul if he wanted to. And that's why I think we're at. Like, I think the Eagles have a really good chance. And like I said, on Monday, when we do the show, I will have no problem saying, you know what? Yeah, the Eagles did that thing. But initially, the hill I'm going to stand on, I just don't see Andy Reid lose to one of his guys. And at any time, Andy Reid can hang this up. Let's realize that. And still go down as one of the greatest coaches. I don't think he is. But Cheeseburger Andy, I just feel like his blood pressure's too low. You know, he eats crap before and after every game. Like his mindset is that of, all right, yeah, I got some plays and running that I think will work. And they're a really good team. I still think I got them. And there's something to speak of. And I think you hit on the point. Like, I think we got to do Andy Reid, Belichick, like greatest coach of all time show here soon. But it's just his temperament puts faith in me as, I guess, a media person, as a commentator, as an ex-player, that if Andy not worried about him, why am I?
Yeah, he's
that's where I'm at with it.
He's the coach. Like, there's a few of them, man. There's a coach's coach. Andy Reid's one of them. You know, Kyle Shanahan's another one of them. You know, Mike Tomlin's another one of those guys. Like, so it's like the coaches. You know what I mean? Like,
did you read what your pops? Did you read what your pops said?
Nah, what do you say? I've been over here microphoning. Get him, Pop. That's what I'm talking about. Shout out to Taraji P. Henson. I told you cannot just that movie. That was Black Hollywood in China. You cannot do that. Jackie Chan is black. I don't care what anybody says. We claim Jackie. We've been claiming Jackie since Rumble in the Bronx. Anyway,
I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. Oh God, he got a point though. God, he got a point.
I mean, should we get into our Peabody Award segment, man?
I feel like we should, man. I'm ready. I'm ready to rock and roll.
Man, by all means, I'm so used to having alcoholic beverages when we do these things. Like so,
right? Like we'll get back into that. So I want
as soon as the tournament gets here, I can't wait for the tournament to get here.
And now that I know who this fourth person is joining the live stream, because they snuck in here last time and I didn't know who it was, and I made some comments. I will refrain from that now. But I want to welcome everybody to the Peabody Award winning, the Emmy Award, the Grammy Award winning segment of our show of What's Good America, which is entitled Give Me a Minute. So America, as I take this sober gasp of air, give me a minute. To bring this game into pop culture, essentially you got Black Air Forces versus white Air Forces. You got the white Air Forces and this has nothing to do with racial anything. This has everything to do with attitude. You got white Air Forces in the Kansas City Chiefs where it's like, you know what, man, I'm stepping out. Let me go grab the white forces. Like, white forces are synonymous with being clean, going out, doing what you got to do. Like, hey, man, I got forces on, man. Let's go to the day party, man. Oh, man, I heard it's popping down at the beach. Let's go BC. All right. But then you got them damn black forces. Black forces are synonymous with, you know what? Let me put these forces on. We got to go take care of some business. Black forces are, you know what? I wish you would say something else about my mama. Black forces are, you know what? I ain't never liked you anyway. Let's get into it. Black forces are everything that original trap music was. And depending on your attitude of the day, that's the shoes that you choose. Me personally, I'm more of a white Air Force guy. I do got a couple black Air Forces in the closet just in case I got to go back to them roots. But for today, for my picks today, I'm going with the white Air Forces with the bubble gum bottoms, with the all white laces that got like the brown tips to them, the high joints, not the lows. I'm going with the white Air Forces. I'm going with the Kansas City Chiefs to win by 9.
Well, there you go. There you go. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what I figured. I got to figure this out. You keep talking, Chris, because I got to get back in this room somehow.
For some reason, Walter's on mute again. When all he got to do is hit the unmute button.
Nah, man, I think I had a breakdown in this room for it's not letting me join. All right, we back. We all good.
There you go.
Yeah, man, that was I was having a little bit of a breakdown, America, but we back. So as I soberly sip this water on Super Bowl Sunday, this is gonna be very interesting.
And it's the small bottle of water too, like that little 4-ounce joint.
You know what? Maybe that'll be my give me a minute, but no, America, give me a minute. This is truly one of those days and one of those games, man, where you just kind of put in perspective of everything. Obviously, it's been well documented. Having 2 young African American quarterbacks starting the game is an amazing thing. Coinciding with somehow the fact that we still only have Black History Month in February when it should be maybe, I don't know, January or March. We could try it May, July, August, October, December. I mean, so many months with 31 days we could move Black History Month to, but I digress. I I think it's those times where we can't forget when we look at Jalen Hurts and we look at Patrick Mahomes and all the others, Lamar Jacksons, the Russell Wilsons. I'm missing so many guys off the top of my head, which I never seem to do. Kyler Murray's and guys of this nature. And you can't forget, the shoulders that these guys are standing on. James Harris, Joe Gillum, obviously Doug Williams, Randall Cunningham, Steve McNair, Dante Culpepper, Donovan McNabb, all
Warren
these stars.
Moon, like it's
Warren Moon, one of my goats, Warren Moon, greatest arm motion of all time.
beautiful,
And-
beautiful.
And Michael Vick, and so on and so forth. We can never forget that this is the thing that's been going on for a long time. And, to be in this moment, to see these two young men that play the game so differently, but so beautifully at the same time. I think football is really in a great place. The evolution we've seen. And I think we're starting to get to the point, hopefully, and I think this is the point I'm making, having my dad on this broadcast and being here. And I know now, moving forward, it's a good thing when I actually do share a link and be a good co-host, so my dad can actually listen to me do this live. But I hope after this Super Bowl, it can really, really, truly be the end of the first black anything anymore.
Yeah.
It's a hope. But I feel like we're at a point where now let's just call these guys quarterbacks, man. Like we've proven the point. I mean, half the starting quarterbacks are black. We've proven that point. We've driven it home. Let's get a few more of us, obviously in front offices, and let's get a few more D'Amico Ryans out there. Let's get some help there where it should be deserved, and trust these men that they can lead the same way Mike Tomlin is. Mike Tomlin's a 101, but we have a chance to see D'Amico Ryans do it. I believe Byron Leftwich has that in him with his Super Bowl win as an offensive coordinator. Let's continue to just move forward and just say, you know what, we're all here and this is what we do, And I think that's really the kind of what I look at it with joy today. That now we don't have to worry about after 2022 saying this is the first time we've had two black quarterbacks, because it's going to be a normal thing. It's going to be normal, that we see different, ethnicities and things happen. And we're here, man. And what a game, man. And to end it with all that sentimental stuff, it's only the way I can end this to make Chris just shake his head and make my dad shake his head. He's listening. I told y'all the Eagles was going to be in the Super Bowl. Like, come on, man. I told y'all this is a Michael Jordan percentage show. This is what we do. We get it 84% right. And the good news is one of us is going to be right. One of us is going to be wrong. Been my minute.
Exactly the way it should be. So before we finish it off, I want to give a big shout out to D'Amico Ryans. He was my middle linebacker while I was at Alabama. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like, we were the best of friends when I was there, because I was a very arrogant, egotistical asshole at that time. And I was more entertaining with what I could do down the sorority row, down with the AKAs and the compared to being a good teammate. So just put that out there. So shout out to D'Amico Ryan. Congratulations. He's the same dude that you get as I got as a player, as a starting middle linebacker. He seems to be the same guy he is as defensive coordinator, because he is truly a student of the game. So much love and respect. And I think we're Facebook friends or whatever, and I think and all that, not whatever. But whatever the case may be, we weren't the best of friends when I was in college, because like I said, I was in some Hollywood shit. But at the same time, I wish that man nothing but utmost respect, and I wish him the best of luck going to the shit of a Houston franchise that he's going to. But if anybody can do it, I believe he can. So I wish that man the best. But with all that being said, make sure that you share this program when you hear it live, when you see it on Zoom and everything else, when you see it on Facebook and YouTube. Make sure you share it to whoever, everybody, and anybody. Make sure you give a special shout out to 9 Round Fitness, official sponsor of the What's Good America show, which has your boy as You know what I'm saying? The GQ model of the year, the cover boy. You know what I'm saying? Just got the guns out, doing core workout. By the way, I'm down 12 pounds. So if anybody want to see me for this GQ ad I might put out, because Baze gave me a good idea of doing like the photo shoot when I hit 40, I may do it. But big shout out to 9 Round Fitness, Knockout Smoothie,
You
Rebel
look like,
Coffee.
you know who you look like in them commercials? You look like baby Bob Sapp. That's who you look like. You look like a pride fight from 2002.
Listen, Bob Sapp made a ton of money throwing them same daily hooks, so I don't want to hear it. Bob Sapp had a movie career because of them hooks.
He did.
I don't want to hear it.
Throwing them Bob Sapp hooks.
I'm done. I'm done. Chic workwear. Yeah, you can wear it for the Super Bowl, but then you could turn around and wear that same outfit to work tomorrow. Chic workwear. Official and first sponsor of What's Good America.
That's facts.
Did we miss anybody? We got everybody. Oh, shout out to Big Dre. Big shout out to Pops. The new Mrs. Walton. She's not new anymore. She's old Mrs. Walton now. Like she's old
new
news
Mama
now.
Walton is what it is. She
New
is.
Ma-
She is
there
the new
you go.
Mama Walton.
Shout out to new Mama Walton. Big shout out to Michelle Lovely. Then we had Rat-a-tat-tat pop in the group and everything else. So big shout out for y'all for listening. That was the dude name.
Rebel Coffee.
It was what it was. Rebel. I said Rebel Coffee. Oh, of course I said Rebel Coffee. But big shout out to Rebel Coffee. Everybody that contributes to the show. Everybody who listens. Me and my child are about to essentially watch the Puppy Bowl, and I'm gonna watch like a bunch of commercials and everything else like that. And that's how we gonna have our Super Bowl. Get ready, because I guarantee you'll be doing the same damn thing in a couple years. Like, oh, Dad, can we put on this Puppy Bowl? Like, we got like a bunch of other TVs in this house.
This morning, all I'm trying to do is avoid piss. I mean, I'm picking
So,
away. I'm gonna be changing diapers every media timeout. I ain't watching Rihanna. I'm gonna be over here, seriously trying to avoid getting pooped on at my friend's house. That's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I'll be watching the Puppy Bowl during halftime, so I'll have Rihanna on in another room or something. So with all that being said, the same question that we asked you this morning, I guess it's afternoon now, it's the same question that we ask you every chance we get. And what is that, Walt?
What's good, America?
What's good, America?